Hi everybody, it's Deborah from PeopleLovingAnimals.com. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching my video today. Today's video is called How to Calm Dogs with Anxiety, Why They're Anxious and How to Solve It. Today's video is going to be pretty thorough. We're going to be talking about the symptoms or signs that a dog is anxious. We're going to talk about the most common reasons why a dog might be anxious, and I'm also going to talk about some step-by-step things that you can do to help your dog with anxiety. I'm also going to be referring you to Doggy Dan's The Dog Calming Code, which is a specific dog training program that Doggy Dan developed specifically for dogs who can't calm down, whether they're anxious or they're aggressive, if they're nervous or afraid. It's called the Dog Calming Code, and I'm going to talk about that in today's video. So go ahead and stay tuned if you're having a problem with a dog who is anxious. Before we start, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would love to have you on board about once a week or more. I do a video all about the health and care and training of dogs and cats. I would love to have you on board. If today's video is helpful, please give it a like. It really helps YouTubers when you do that. And at the end of today's video, I'm going to have a little free gift for you. So I hope you'll stick around. Again, thanks so much for watching. Let's go ahead and get into the video. We are on my website, PeopleLovingAnimals.com, and we're going to use this article on my website. Let me get my face out of the way. We're going to use this article on my website called How to Calm Dogs with Anxiety, Why They're Anxious and How to Solve It. Now, I'm not going to read you this article. I'm simply going to use it as a template for today's video so that I can kind of follow along and make sure that I cover everything. I am going to give you the link to this article in the description box of today's video, so you're welcome to go in, read the article, check out my website. There's plenty of articles on this and other subjects. And anything that I talk about in today's video, there'll be links in the article, but I'll also put those links in the description box. Okay, so don't feel like you have to follow along and read this. Just relax. I'm going to give you everything and links to everything, including this article, in the description box. So let's go ahead and get into it. You know, it is extremely upsetting to watch a dog suffer from anxiety. You know, they're scared, they're nervous, some dogs shake, and it's just upsetting. And sometimes it's like no matter how much you try to calm them down and use a soothing voice, you just can't seem to calm the dog down, and it can be very upsetting, not only for the dog, but for you too. And it is crucial for their health for you to address the issue, because as you can imagine, just like with humans, long-term stress and anxiety can be very detrimental to the dog's health and overall well-being, just like it is for people. So it is really important to address the issue. So I'm really glad you're here, and I hope that by the end of this video, you feel like you've gotten some real help with this. First of all, some of the signs of dog anxiety, some of the things your dog might be doing if he's anxious is pacing, chewing, whining, crying, barking, excessive barking, destructive behaviors, chewing apart your couch when you're at work, you know, these sorts of things, aggression, and also some dogs literally will shake or tremble. These are all signs that your dog might be having anxiety. What causes dog anxiety? It can be helpful to understand what is causing your dog's anxiety before you attempt to fix it. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, and I'm hoping that as we go through these, you might be able to start to identify like, I think this is the kind of anxiety my dog is having, so that you can be very specific in how you're going to go about solving it for him. The three most common causes for dog anxiety are stress, phobias, and separation anxiety. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes on each one so you get a little bit more clarity about which anxiety your dog might be having. The first one is stress anxiety. This is the most common cause of dog anxiety, and it can include many sorts of stressful situations, even something from their past. For example, people often have a problem with rescue dogs being anxious because a lot of times, unfortunately, if a dog has ended up in a shelter, he may not have had a very good life. For example, he may have been attacked by another dog in a shelter or elsewhere. So if you have a dog that in his previous life, meaning before you, was maybe attacked by another dog. He might be fearful. He might be anxious. Say, whenever you go to a dog park and you're like, geez, what's the matter with the dog? Well, you don't know his past, right? He could have had something happen with another dog. So it's important for you to pay attention to your dog. And if you see your dog getting anxious, really just stop and take a look around. What is the situation that we're in? What is my dog seeing? In other words, ask yourself, what is triggering this? What has changed in this environment that I'm with, here, standing here with my dog? What has changed? Has somebody approached? Has a dog approached? Has a car gone by? Like, what is it? Did we just pull up somewhere? You know, just really pay attention and start to try to figure out what is triggering your dog all of a sudden seeming like he's anxious. Okay. The other common type of anxiety in dogs is phobia based. Now this means actual fears, like the dog has fears about things. And again, this could be just, you know, a loud noise. For example, you don't have to have a past negative experience with a loud noise in order for you to be afraid of loud noises. Babies will be frightened by a loud noise. Puppies will be frightened by a loud noise. But it could also, like we talked about a minute ago, it could also be some of their phobias or fears could be triggered by some sort of past experience that they might have had. A common trigger for a phobia-based anxiety would be fireworks. A lot of dogs are afraid of fireworks. It could be that your dog was abused maybe by a man in the past, and so now maybe your dog gravitates more towards women, and maybe your dog will actually get anxious if a strange man approaches. If somebody comes over, you know, maybe your buddy from work shows up at the house, and all of a sudden your dog's, you know, a nervous wreck. Well, it might have something to do with possibly some sort of abuse situation in the past. I had a miniature dachshund once named Maggie, who I picked up not only as a stray, she was abandoned. She was abandoned on the side of the road. I found her on the side of a road. There was no houses for miles. The dog was just out there. It was terrible. She was starving. She was flea bitten. I took the dog home and I had her for 11 years, and she was one of the most wonderful dogs I have ever had. But the reason I bring her up is when I first had her, the first time I took her in a car somewhere, and we were in the car and she was riding along, and I cracked the window started to go down. The dog nearly had a stroke, and I immediately thought somebody threw her out that car window on that road. Do you know what I mean? For her to react that way to that car window going down, that's what I thought. I had found her out on that abandoned road. There weren't houses anywhere, so it's not like she got lost. I think somebody abandoned that dog by throwing her out the car window, and she had a fear of that, you know, after the fact. That's just my own theory, but that's an example of how a dog's past experiences can create a fear that you may not understand why they're reacting with such anxiety. And the third most common cause of dog anxiety is separation anxiety, but you may be surprised when you find out what actually causes this. You know, we like to think, oh, my dog loves me so much. It just misses me while I'm gone. Yeah, well, it's a little bit of that, but it's a little bit more complex than that. And it's quite a different reason than what you might think. A lot of dogs and puppies suffer from separation anxiety, but like I say, you may be surprised to learn the actual reason for this. Separation anxiety is typically triggered when your dog believes he is the boss of the household. So when you leave the house, your dog thinks that he is responsible to manage things while you're gone, and he's also worrying about your safety while you're gone. I'm just going to continue reading this because it explains it best, but we're going to talk about this just for a minute. Think of it this way. What if it's your first day at a new job and suddenly all of the staff leaves and you're in charge of everything? You don't know how anything works. You have no training. How would you feel? You would feel anxious. It's extremely stressful when you find yourself in a situation where you don't feel capable. You don't feel capable of handling the situation. And this is what causes separation anxiety in dogs. I'm going to give you a link in the description box to my article and video called Helping Dogs with Separation Anxiety, How to Teach a Dog to Stay Home Alone. And that goes into a little bit more detail about this issue of what causes separation anxiety. You have to remember dogs are pack animals by by nature. It is their primal instinct to stick together, and there is always an alpha dog. There is always a pack leader for a dog. So if the dog thinks that he's the pack leader, or if you're not demonstrating to your dog that you are the pack leader, then you leave the house, the dog is going to be a nervous wreck for these reasons. He thinks he's in charge. This is why a dog will bark excessively in the yard. This is why a dog will get aggressive with people on walks. Really, virtually any dog behavioral issue that you can think of is most likely based in the pack leader mentality, in that dog thinks he's the pack leader because nobody else is stepping up to be that. In a dog pack, there will always be at least one alpha dog, or there'll be a couple of them that'll fight for the position, but there'll always be at least one alpha dog who will stand up and take charge. And then what happens is all the other dogs in the pack look to that alpha dog, they look to that pack leader for guidance. For example, if something approaches the den in the wild, they immediately look to that alpha dog. They immediately look to that pack leader. What do we do? Do you see what I mean? So they have a leader. They have somebody whose lead they can follow. So in human life, in domestic life, when they come to live at your house, there's no dog pack. There's no leader. There's no alpha dog. So from your dog's perspective, nobody else is standing up and taking charge. So it falls on them. Most dogs are not alpha dogs. Most dogs are not okay with this. Do you see? So it causes anxiety. So that's a little bit more than I wanted to go in today's video, because I don't want to get off the subject, but it is on today's subject because it is a major cause of dog anxiety. But again, I'm going to give you the link to the video that we're going to talk more about that, and I'm going to give you some help with this. So those are some of the signs of your dog being anxious, and 3 of the most common reasons why your dog might be anxious. So what is the solution? Well, a couple of things. First, like I said, I'm going to talk to you about the dog calming code. It's created by professional dog trainer and behavioral specialist Doggy Dan. If you've been here before, you've heard me talk about Doggy Dan. He is my top rated dog trainer that I recommend on my website, and he made this program specifically for this issue, so I'm really excited to be able to tell you about this. But let's talk about steps that you can take to begin to try to solve this for your dog. The solution to dog anxiety, regardless of what it's caused by, if it's caused by separation anxiety, if it's caused by some past trauma that your dog has had, no matter what the cause of your dog's anxiety, these steps will help your dog with the anxiety, okay? So we're going to go through these. I'm going to try not to rush too much. I always feel like I'm going on too long. My videos tend to be long, but at the same time, I don't want to rush through it. I would rather sit down and talk with you about this. It's why you're here, right? So I'm going to try not to talk too fast and just try to settle my own anxiety about going on too long and just help you with this issue. So let's go through the steps. Step 1 is establish yourself as the household provider, otherwise known as the pack leader, like we just talked about. It is crucial because in order for your dog to feel calm and relaxed, he needs to be able to look to you for guidance and reassurance. When you're able to convince your dog that you are the one in charge of providing food, providing protection, and providing companionship, there's no longer a reason for your dog to be anxious. You have to actually do this. You have to actually take steps to convince your dog that you are the pack leader. And Doggy Dan gives you specific training, specific steps that you can do so that your dog will see you as the pack leader. They'll see you as the provider. There's nothing violent here. There's nothing harsh. It's all very kind, very gentle. It's all about understanding how the dog thinks and showing the dog that you're the pack leader by doing this and by doing this and by doing this, okay? So that's the first step is convincing your dog that he doesn't have to be in charge, okay? Like I say, I'm going to refer you to the dog calming code. I'm going to give you a link. I'm going to give you this link. I'll show it to you. when I say I encourage you to learn more about the program, I'm going to give you a link to Doggy Dan's blog post. This is a blog post that he did on his website called theonlinedogtrainer.com, where he talks about the dog calming code, and he refers to it as his #1 secret to successfully training over 37,000 dogs. And he actually goes through and talks about the dog calming code, talks about all the reasons why it won't fail you. I mean, he doesn't even just say, oh, this is why this works. He says, these are all the reasons that this program will not fail you. It really is guaranteed to work. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just clicked right out of my program by accident. He really does go through the whole program, what it is, why it works. Even by reading this blog post, you're going to have a much better understanding of how things work and how your dog thinks. That's the most important thing, I think, that Doggy Dan teaches, and it's why I recommend him so much, because Doggy Dan helps us to figure out how the dog thinks. And when you can see and understand how your dog thinks, you can train him to do anything. You can solve any dog behavior issue, including dog anxiety. In his blog post, there is a nice video here by Doggy Dan. You're going to be able to listen to him talk about it instead of listening to me. So, like I said, I'm giving you the link to that to learn about that. Go in there, watch Doggy Dan's video. Now, let's keep going with the steps. The first step, showing your dog that you are the pack leader, is the most important step, not only to a dog anxiety issue, but any dog behavior issue that you might be having with your dog or puppy. It's the most crucial step. Once you implement that, things are smooth sailing from there. Your dog really will trust you. They not only will listen to you, but they'll want to listen to you. They will see you as the person with all the answers for the rest of their little doggy life. It's really how important it is and how effective it is. Step 2, this is a very interesting technique, and I'm really excited to share it with you. This is a technique that Doggy Dan teaches called the Calm Freeze technique. I'll go through it quickly here, but like I say, if you want to go into this article and read these steps for yourself, you can. You can even print this if you want to. Okay, when you see your dog becoming anxious, okay, whatever's happening, and you're like, oh my God, the dog's having a fit. Like, what's up with the dog, okay? First thing you do is you take your dog under the collar, but you do it underhand like this. So your palm is toward the sky, and you just get your fingers around their collar. And it doesn't have to be your whole hand. You could do it with one finger. Get a hold of them under the collar, okay? Sit with them if you can. If you're a place where, if you're at the park, you can sit on the bench. If you're in your living room, sit down on the couch. You sit if you can, even if your dog won't sit, even if they're too anxious. Get a hold of them under their collar very gently and sit if you can. If you can't, then simply stand there. Do it gently. And then the second step is to stay calm. Now, you do whatever you have to do to stay calm, because if your dog is anxious, you might be getting stressed out. You know, if there's a dog coming down the sidewalk, or if somebody's knocking at the door, or there's kids riding by on their bikes, like no matter what might be happening, you might be upset. You're not probably going to be upset about whatever's happening, but your dog is anxious, and so you're anxious. Do you see what I mean? So you actually have to take steps to calm yourself down first. So you, for example, take the dog by the collar, sit down. Don't worry about the dog. You got a hold of him on his collar. You just think about whatever you need to think about to calm yourself down. If you need to count to 10, if you need to think about the last vacation you took, if you like to sit and imagine your favorite TV show just for a couple of minutes, you just get inside your own head and you calm yourself down. All right. Number 3, while you're sitting there calmly, ignore your dog. This is crucial. And, you know, I don't want to go into Doggy Dan's whole big dog training, but I get so excited when I think about it because it's so effective. The reason it's so important for you to ignore your dog is that dogs can't understand you when you speak. Even if we're talking in a soothing voice, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry, that guy will be gone soon. Don't worry, we'll be home soon. You know, don't worry, the vet's not going to hurt you. Like, we're always trying to reason with the dog, you know, like we would a child. Dogs don't understand that. You have to show a dog. So by you calm yourself, and you ignore your dog. You're not talking to him. You're not trying to cheer him up. You're not trying to pet him. You're not petting him. You're not doing anything. You're just simply holding his collar, and you are the pack leader. You are demonstrating calmness. Do you see? Now, not only does this show your dog, you're showing your dog that you're remaining calm, but dogs are very energetic animals. They will pick up on that energy. They will pick up on your calmness. Do you see? If you're calm, they'll be calm. If you think everything's okay, they're going to be like, okay, well, she thinks everything's okay. Everything must be okay. Do you see? So it's very important. Calm yourself down first. Ignore your dog while you're sitting there calmly. Don't speak to him. Don't touch him. Don't look at him. Keep hold of him gently under the collar. As long as you remain calm and silent, he will eventually sit. Again, as long as you remained calm and silent, the dog will eventually sit. All right? Number 4, no words are necessary. You are transferring your calm energy to your dog. Eventually, your dog will lie down. Keep hold of him for a bit until he's settled down and relaxed. Once he's totally relaxed, then you can let go of him. Okay, so again, your dog is anxious. Take him gently by the collar. You go sit down. Don't expect the dog to sit down right away. He's anxious. You just sit there. Get yourself calmed down. Don't speak to him. Don't touch him. Don't pet him. You just sit there holding his collar. You're quiet. You're calm. Eventually the dog's going to sit down eventually. Might be 10 minutes, but the dog's going to sit down eventually. And again, you don't acknowledge him. You just sit there demonstrating calm. And eventually he'll actually lie down. Now, it's not until he has actually calmed down that you let go of his collar, okay? Now, you may have to do this for a few minutes. If your dog is really, really struggling with anxiety, this might take a good 10 minutes. You might have to sit there with him, and again, not speaking to him, not petting him, not touching him, just simply holding, and you're just simply demonstrating calm. Might take a few minutes, and you may have to do this several times, but the more you do it, the more you're demonstrating to your dog. Your dog will begin to copy you, okay? There's a interruption in my article, so I'm going to interrupt here for my video real quick. There's an invitation within the article and also in the description box to go ahead and subscribe to my Dog Lovers email list. If you're subscribed to my Dog Lovers email list, about once a week or so, you'll get an email from peoplelovinganimals.com. It'll be all about dogs, health for dogs, care of dogs, pet supplies, medications, and dog training. Okay, so if you'd like to subscribe, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and do that. Now, again, repeat this process is necessary. At first, it may take a few minutes or longer, but as your dog begins to trust you more and more, this process will become easier, shorter, and eventually you won't need to do these steps anymore. And again, the calm freeze technique is about transferring your calm energy to your dog. Dogs are incredibly aware. They pick up on energies, and if you're stressed out, your dog is going to be stressed out too. Okay, so again, show your dog calm, quiet energy, and he will follow suit. Step 3 is to make sure your dog is getting enough exercise. You know, sometimes don't we just make things too difficult? You know, sometimes we complicate things more than they have to be. You know, like for example, when I talk about crate training, they say, oh, my dog's always crying in the crate. You know, my dog's always barking in the crate. And sometimes people actually forget to ask themselves the first most basic question. Is the dog hungry? Is the dog thirsty? Does the dog have to go to the bathroom? Has the dog had any exercise today? And we're trying to come up with all these psychological reasons, you know, why the dog might be barking in the crate. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm guilty of this in my own life. You know, sometimes we just make things so much more difficult than they have to be. But when it comes to anxiety with your dog, one of the issues might be exercise. And for some dogs, it really might be that simple. You know, for example, I always use a boxer puppy as an example of a dog who needs this. A boxer puppy, imagine, they're full of energy. They're all dull energy. They can go from morning till night. They're just a very energetic, healthy, excitable breed. So if you have a boxer puppy and you're like, oh, the dog won't calm down, he must be anxious. Well, maybe he's not anxious. Maybe he just needs exercise. He needs to play. He needs to throw the ball around. He needs to go to the dog park. Do you know what I mean? So, consider this. Is your dog getting enough exercise? Anxiety is, in reality, a type of energy. And if your dog has too much energy, his anxiety is going to be worse. This is why daily exercise is so important. Just like humans, exercise doesn't just burn energy, but it releases feel-good chemicals in your dog's body. It's an amazing what a long walk in a park or tossing a ball around in the yard can do for your dog or for a person to relax. Now, I'm a walker. I walk almost every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and it is how I cope with stress. It's what I do. And if I'm in a particularly stressful situation, I'm having a really hard time with whatever the issue is in my life, if I can put my sneakers on and walk out the door, that is my first solution, because I won't be 5 minutes into the walk and I've already begun to calm down. It's amazing what it does psychologically and physiologically, not just for people, but for animals as well. So if you could take your dog for a walk, go out in the backyard, throw the ball around a little with them, even if it's like cold, or if you live in an apartment, get a little toy, play a little tug of war with them in the living room. Make sure that your dog is getting enough exercise. And specifically, if you know that your dog is going to have an encounter that day that tends to cause anxiety for him. For example, maybe you're going to take him in the car somewhere and you know he's always anxious in the car. Maybe he has a dreaded vet visit and you know he's always scared at the vet, or whatever. If you're going to a friend's house and there's going to be kids, or if you already kind of know of some triggers that your dog has for anxiety, if you can anticipate that and you're like, okay, we're going to, the vet appointment is at 2 o'clock, try to get a nice long walk in that morning, before you go to the vet, before you try to get the dog to ride nicely in the car, because while you're working on the dog anxiety issue, that is one thing that's going to help you in the meantime, okay? Getting the dog to burn up some of their energy so that that isn't also making things worse, okay? And just in general, you should be making sure that your dog is getting enough exercise, and, always be aware if you have an older dog. There's a video on this channel called, I think it's called Exercising Senior Dogs, where I talk about how much is too much, for a senior dog. So if you have an older dog, you might want to watch that video before you start incorporating exercise. You basically obviously have to be careful with an older dog, but just keep it in mind. Step 4 is set your dog up for success. The best way to set your dog up for success is to not set him up for failure. If you know your kid is afraid of roller coasters, don't throw him on the fastest roller coaster. Do you know what I mean? Don't set him up for failure, especially if you already know he has a problem with a specific issue. Take it slow. If you know of a particular event or situation that typically causes anxiety for your dog, don't put him in that situation, or at least try to minimize it as much as possible. Never force your dog or push him too hard or too fast. Doing so will do more harm than good. You're not going to help the issue. You're going to make it worse. You have to first take the time to think about what's triggering your dog's anxiety, and then set a plan to ensure that your dog feels safe and secure in that situation, no matter what the situation is that's causing him, triggering this anxiety. For example, if your dog is afraid of fireworks, don't force him outside and say, oh, he'll get used to it. He probably will not get used to it. Instead, set him up in a safe, quiet place in the house, perhaps in a bedroom that doesn't have as many windows, or maybe he's at the back of the house or the opposite direction of where the fireworks are, to reduce the noise. When he feels safe and the noise isn't as loud, it won't seem as scary to him. And over time, when you're doing these sorts of things, and especially when you have the dog calming code in place, I'm going to talk with you about that in a minute, your dog can learn to overcome this fear and be more confident. But you've got to take the time, you've got to take the steps, and again, you've got to come at it from how the dog feels, how the dog sees this, okay? So think about ways that you can make stressful situations less scary for your dog while the two of you work through this program and build his confidence. I want to mention this quickly. For temporary relief during this process, if your dog is having a particularly hard time, okay, if you're here on this video because your dog's like having a stroke every time the doorbell rings, do you know, if your dog is really having a problem, you might consider using a calming aid like CBD oil while you work on this issue. Doggy Dan has one. It's called Angel Oil. I'm giving you the link to it where Doggy Dan talks about it, talks about the benefits of it, and you can go ahead and you can get that from Doggy Dan. It is always important to talk to your vet before you introduce this or any form of medication or calming aid. Please ask your vet if it's okay for your dog to have this before you give it to him, okay? Especially if your dog is an elderly dog, and especially if your dog has any other health issues, and most especially if your dog is on any sort of medication. Please ask your vet before you give this to him. But again, I'm going to give you the link to that. You can check that out. But don't forget, CBD oil is a product that is a training aid. It will not fix your dog's anxiety issues for the long term, okay? It's simply something you can use to provide some relief for your dog while the two of you go through this process of learning how to train him so that he is not anxious, okay? Now, as you know, my recommendation is that you check out Doggy Dan's The Dog Calming Code. Like I said, I'm going to give you the link to his blog post where he talks all about the dog calming code, and then I'm going to give you the link to actually purchase this. Now, it doesn't say in the article, but since you're watching my video, I'm going to tell you right up front, how much is it? The dog calming code is $47. It's a complete program. It's step-by-step. It's video-based. It is $47, and it is 100% money-back guaranteed. So you get to get it, you get to try it, you get to look through it, you get to have 100% money-back guarantee if this does not solve your issue. Now, like I've told you, I believe that this sort of training, specifically the part where Doggy Dan teaches you how to get your dog to see you as the pack leader, that will solve every dog issue that you will have. I really think it's just a good investment of your time, and it's a good investment of your $47 to go ahead and get this program, and you and your dog go through this program, because it's really going to help you to solve any issues that you ever have with your dog. But specifically, Doggy Dan created this program for dogs basically who, like I said, can't calm down. Either they're anxious, they're afraid, they're nervous, they're scared, or they're aggressive. That's why it's called the Dog Calming Code. So again, I highly recommend it. I always recommend Doggy Dan. I really believe in his training. It's kind, it's gentle, and it's super effective. He has thousands of testimonials that you can find all over the internet about Doggy Dan and how he has helped people. So that is my recommendation. So just let me recap real quick. So go through number one. Is your dog exhibiting signs of anxiety? I'm guessing yes, or you wouldn't be here watching this video. Number two, go through this video again, or else read the article and see if you can determine what type of anxiety he might be having. Is it a phobia? Is it a separation anxiety? Is it stress? Like, what is stressing the dog out? Start paying attention to your dog. Whenever he gets anxious, take a look around and say, what is triggering this? Okay? Use the the calm freeze technique. We went through the steps of you start now in doing these techniques to demonstrate to your dog what calm looks like. You start that. And then I highly recommend that you go ahead, go into Doggy Dan's blog post. It's free to read his blog post to get all the information about why a program like the Dog Calming Code works. And then if you choose to, you can go ahead and purchase it. If it doesn't work for you, you can get your money back. Now, if you've been here before, you know that I donate to animal charities. I am an affiliate for some, not all, but some of the products and services that I recommend on my website. I am an affiliate for, and I get a commission. I do get a commission if you purchase Doggy Dan's training programs. Now, what I did was, way back in 2015, when I first started peoplelovinganimals.com, one of the issues I wanted to cover was dog training, and I also did the same with cat training. So I researched all the available dog training programs, and I compared them, and I decided that I liked Doggy Dan the best. And then I have promoted and talked about Doggy Dan for, well, it's going on 6 years now. And I have researched some other dog training programs. And I'm not afraid to look at other dog training programs, because if there's something better, I want to know about it. And I also want to be able to give you options, you know, so that you can choose which one you like the best. But time and time again, I end up coming back to Doggy Dan because I really do believe in his training. But what I do is I choose whatever product or service I'm trying to provide on my website. I choose the company that I like the best, and then I apply to them to be an affiliate. And then when I do recommend their product or service, I get a small commission for doing that. And I donate 10% of all of the commissions that I earn on this YouTube channel and on the website to animal charities. And if you go to the homepage of my website, peoplelovinganimals.com, you'll see a list of the animal charities that I donate to. For that reason, I would love it if you would refer me to your friends. Please give them the link to this YouTube channel, to my website, put something on Facebook or your social media platforms. I would really appreciate it, especially if you have a friend or a family member who is having a problem with one of their animals. Take a look through my YouTube channel. You'll see there's a whole bunch of dog training videos. There's a whole bunch of puppy training videos, cat training videos. There's a pet health category, a pet care category. I've been doing this a long time. I've written hundreds of articles. I've researched hundreds literally of topics, and I've done I think about 200 videos so far. So I think it is a valuable resource, and I'm hoping that it helps animals, because that's why I set out to do it when I started peoplelovinganimals.com. So again, I thank you so much. Again, the information for today's video comes from Doggy Dan. I'm going to give you a link to his article, 5 Methods for Overcoming Anxiety. I'm going to give you a link to everything that we talked about in today's video, this article, the Doggy Dan's blog post about this. You're going to be able to see Doggy Dan on video. You're going to be able to see him talking about this. And if you decide to go ahead and purchase the dog calming code, it'll be a video process where you'll see Doggy Dan will walk you through things step by step. So again, thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, please give it a like. I promised a free gift at the end of the video. If you go into the description box and you click on the link to sign up for my dog lovers email list, I will give you a free dog training manual called My Everyday Dog Training Tools by Doggy Dan. It's a very thorough dog training did I say video? It's a manual. It's a very thorough dog training manual, and it's written by Doggy Dan, and I'll give that to you as your free gift if you would like to go ahead and sign up for my dog lovers email list. I do also have a cat lovers email list, by the way, and you can just go to any of the cat training videos on the YouTube channel, and you can get a link for that. So please feel free to comment below with your comments and questions. I would love it so much if you would come back to this video and comment below. Let us know how you did with these techniques. How did the calm freeze technique work for your dog? Were you able to discover what was causing your dog's anxiety? And did you try out Doggy Dan's program? And if you did, please come back and report so that other people watching these videos can get your feedback on what you thought of it. Okay, so again, thank you so much for watching. I hope I've helped. My name is Deborah, and my website is peoplelovinganimals.com. Thanks again. Bye-bye.